Hello guys, I'm Laura from Cherubs Chalks Interiors. I'm a content creator for Dixie Belle Paint, and today I'm going to show you how I transformed this old vintage bureau into something special using Dixie Belle products. This piece came to me with some damage to the bottom trim and the varnish was flaking off in some parts. But it was a really pretty, sturdy piece, and I knew with a little bit of love it would be beautiful again. So first things first, I removed the broken trim, cleaned it all over, and now I'm going to sand it smooth and remove the top layer of that varnish because it's shiny and the paint won't adhere to it. Where I removed the broken trim, there are lots of tiny little nail holes, so I'm just going to fill this with some polyfiller. Now that it's all filled, repaired and sanded, I'm going to give it a real good clean using some white lightning which I've mixed up in a spray bottle. I'm then going to wipe this all over and then rinse off with some plain water. I've chosen Gravel Road for the base coat. This is part of the chalk mineral paint line and is a deep charcoal grey. I'm just going to paint one coat of this all over, getting into all of those details. Now it's time to paint the interior. I've picked out these two colours, but they're not quite what I was looking for, so I'm going to mix them both together to make a shade somewhere in between. I've decided to go with a 50-50 mix, so I'm going to put the same amount of each colour into my measuring cup and then I'm going to mix them both together to combine really well. Here I've got Quiet Cove and Serenity. These are both from the Silk Mineral Paint line, and I often choose to paint the interiors of these bureaus in Silk Mineral Paint as they can be quite fiddly, and being as the silk paint does not require a primer or a top coat, I find this the quickest and easiest option. So I'm going to apply two coats all over the inside, including in those little cubby areas, which can be quite tricky to get into, but it's worth it for the final finish. Now that the Gravel Road is dry, I'm going to mix up a colour wash using French linen and some water. I'm using around a 50-50 mix, making the paint quite runny. Now with a premium chip brush, I'm going to apply this wash all over, paying special attention to get into all of those details. I've grabbed a dry blue sponge and I'm going to rub it all over the paint to give a more cloudy effect. Now I've got a rag and I'm just going to dab at some areas and wipe at some other areas. The idea is that this is supposed to look quite random, with some areas of the wash looking thinner than others so that you can see more of the paint from behind. Now I've got some Mason-Dixon grey and I'm going to repeat the same process as I did with the French linen. This is just going to build up the layers of different colours, so in some areas with the rags I will take away this wash completely so that you can see the other colours peeking through from behind. Finally, I've grabbed some driftwood, so I think I'm using most of the greys in the chalk mineral paint line on this bureau, and I'm just going to apply a tiny little bit onto some card, and then I'm going to put the smallest amount onto my Big Daddy brush and I'm going to dry brush over the raised detailing and all around randomly for some more tonal variation. Once that's dry, I've got a 120 grit sandpaper and I'm just going to lightly distress all over, especially over that detail. Now to seal and protect the paintwork, I'm going to use some Best Dang Waxing Clear, which I will apply all over using a La Petite brush. I will then buff off the excess with another rag. To finish off with a little bit more shading, I'm going to use some white Best Dang wax and I'm just going to apply this mainly in the detailed areas, and again I'm going to wipe this off with a rag. To add some interest to the inside, I'm going to use the new Birds, Blossoms and Branches transfer. You can see how pretty this is. Here are all the transfer papers. There are 4 sheets in total. You also get a wooden burnishing tool in the pack, which is used to apply the transfer. Now I'm going to cut the sheets up into lots of different sections so that I can build the transfer design as I want it. Now it's time to position the different transfer sections into a design on the writing pad. With this one, I want to make it look like the branches are growing up from the left-hand corner, with the bird sitting amongst the blossom. Now to get to work on applying the transfer. So as you can see, I've taken off the white backing paper, I've popped the transfer into position, and now I'm using the wooden transfer tool to burnish this onto the area. Once the transfer design has fully adhered to the paintwork, you can peel off the clear transfer sheet. Then I will continue to build up the remaining sections to create the final design. Now I have completely finished applying my transfers, it's time to seal this with some gator hide. It's always important to really protect your transfers by sealing them in, and as I have applied these to the writing pad section of the bureau, I want to use the strongest clear coat, which is gator hide. This will give it a really good protective finish. I am working this into the leather and then finishing off with long smooth strokes. This will ensure a streak-free effect. Here is a close-up of the finished bureau. Don't you just love all of those greys washed and blended in together? I know I do. Now take a quick look at the inside. I think that when someone opens this bureau, they're going to have a really pleasant surprise. Look at those gorgeous birds and the florals together. I'm so glad that you could join us for our latest tutorial. If you'd like to see more of our work, you can go and find us on all of the social media platforms at Cherubs Chalks Interiors. For more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment and turn on your post notifications to get notified when we next post. Thank you for watching.